Good day everyone and welcome to today's webinar on simulation of 5G NR use cases. My name is Pranav Vishwanathan and along with me is my colleague Kanakraj Krishnamurthy. This webinar will be about 45 minutes long. In this webinar, we will start with the status of 5G deployment in different parts of the world. Subsequently, we will look at 5G simulation environment in NetSim. Following this, we will discuss some inbuilt examples of NetSim, such as distance versus peak throughput for FR1 and FR2, peak DLUL throughput for N78 and N258, and cell radius for different data rates in case of N78 and N258. We will then focus on some of the parameters that affect received signal strength and how these can be configured in NetSim. Subsequently, we will analyze the throughput of a single UE moving away from the GNB, followed by a use case involving a large number of UEs. After this, we will understand the impact of mobility and handover and numerology on throughput and latency. And finally, we will explain how to use NetSim emulator to transfer a real video over a virtual 5G network. At the end, we will have a Q&A session to answer your queries. Please note that we have muted all the participants and you can send us your questions via the chat option. Across the world, 5G deployments, both commercial and pre-commercial, have already started, with most of them being non-standalone and a few standalone services. Non-standalone means that the 5G networks will be supported by existing 4G infrastructure. Thus, 5G enabled devices will connect to 5G frequencies for data transport, but still use 4G for control plane functions such as connecting to base stations. The standalone mode of 5G refers to using 5G cells for both signaling and information transfer. It includes the new 5G NR core architecture instead of relying on the 4G EPC. In several countries, 5G bands have been allocated to different operators through auctions to facilitate deployment. While in some countries the process is yet to begin and is in research phase. The table lists the major bands in different countries and the status of their deployment. The key takeaway is that majority of the deployment is happening in 3.5 GHz, known as C band, and technically termed as the N78 band. This is in FR1, which is in frequency range 1, and 26 GHz termed as the N258 band in FR2. NetSim's new 5G library features full stack end-to-end packet simulation of 5G NR networks. The 5G library is based on release 15 and release 16 of the 3GPP38 series. NetSim 5G library models all layers of the protocol stack as well as applications running over the network. NetSim allows for end-to-end connections between UEs and remote hosts over IP. The 5G network can be connected to the core and then onto the data network. Any regular NetSim application such as FTP, voice, video, etc. working over TCP or UDP can be simulated. Buildings can be added to model indoor scenario with outdoor to indoor losses. There are several use cases that are built into NetSim. For example, how the throughput varies with distance in FR1 and FR2. We know that the throughput drops faster in FR2, but exactly how the throughput decreases with distance can be understood with this use case. It is quite simple to study this in NetSim. Drag and drop a server, then a GNB and a UE. Set up full buffer or saturation download traffic and move the UE away from the GNB. Then study the throughput versus distance variation. Increase in distance leads to an increase in path loss, which in turn leads to a lower received signal strength and a lower SNR. The lower SNR leads to a lower MCS and in turn a lower CQI, and therefore results in lower throughputs. In this example, the path loss model was set to urban macro to obtain these results. Throughput for FR1 was about 450 Mbps initially, and it dropped down to about 100 Mbps over 1000 meters. Whereas in FR2, we had a throughput of 4.5 Gbps initially, and it dropped to almost one third of it within just 200 meters. The 3.5 GHz mid-band spectrum offers longer distance propagation characteristics as compared to the 26 GHz millimeter wave. The mid-band spectrum suits macro cells for wider area coverage. The 26 GHz high-band spectrum delivers super-fast speeds over short distances. Millimeter wave spectrum is limited because signals cannot travel far as they get attenuated due to trees, rain, buildings, etc. These bands suit 5G small cell networks in urban hotspots requiring high capacity within a short coverage. We will now open NetSim and select 5G NR millimeter wave network. Next, we will drop a GNB EPC and a few UEs and connect them. After this, we will click on the GNB and select Properties. In the LTE-NR interface's physical layer properties, CA configuration option provides a list of bands to choose from. We can see the N78 band and the N258 bands. We will now look at NetSim 5G examples related to peak DLUL throughput for N78 band followed by N258 band. In these use cases, we calculated the peak throughputs assuming no path loss. The peak uplink and downlink throughput for N78 band is analyzed with the DLUL ratio set to 4:1 and for bandwidths of 50 MHz and 100 MHz respectively. We will now open the pre-saved example related to this case in NetSim. As you can see in the GNB properties, we have set N78 single band with DLUL ratio of 4:1. Bandwidth is currently set to 50 MHz. Two applications are configured, one uplink and one downlink which uses UDP protocol. We now run the simulation. After running simulation, we can obtain a variety of performance metrics and plots in the results dashboard, from where we can note the throughput experienced by the applications configured. We see that the uplink application throughput is 210 Mbps, and for downlink application it is 1637 Mbps. The results dashboard provides a variety of metrics based on the protocols running in different layers of the network stack. In addition to tabular metrics, time series plots for application throughput, link throughput, buffer occupancy, TCP window scaling, etc. can be generated. Throughput plots come in instantaneous, cumulative, and time averages. The packet trace log file provides details of each packet as it flows through the network and can be used for deeper and precise analysis. We will now modify the bandwidth from 50 to 100 MHz and rerun the simulation. We see that the uplink application throughput is 442 Mbps and for the downlink it is 3449 Mbps. The peak uplink and downlink throughputs for N258 bands are analyzed with the DL/UL ratio set to 4:1 and bandwidths of 200 and 400 MHz respectively. We now open the saved network scenario in NetSim. In the GNB properties, we can see that the configuration is done with the N258 band. DL/UL ratio is 4:1 and the bandwidth is 200 MHz. Uplink and a downlink application is configured similar to the previous case. We run the simulation. We see that the max uplink and downlink throughput is around 848 Mbps and 6.4 Gbps respectively in case of the 200 MHz bandwidth. Upon running the same scenario with 400 MHz bandwidth, the max uplink and downlink throughputs are around 1.7 Gbps and 10.7 Gbps respectively. Another analysis that can be done is that the band is changed and within the band, the bandwidth or the DL and UL MIMO settings are changed. Also, the DL/UL ratio and the modulation schemes can be changed and the peak throughput can be analyzed. These results were obtained with path loss while the previous results were obtained for an ideal case involving no path loss. I now hand over to my colleague Kanak.
Hello everyone. Improving the coverage, that is cell radius, enables mobile network operators to considerably reduce the number of sites that are needed to expand their coverage. This is essential since the main network lie with deployment and operation of the base stations or towers. In this example, the max downlink throughput for a specific cell radius is analyzed by varying the distance between the GNB and UE for single N78 band at saturation rate. The LTE-NR interface properties configured in the GNB is shown in the table. From the analysis, we were able to see that for a cell radius of 100 to 240 meters, the maximum downlink throughput experienced by the UEs is around 1.5 Gbps approximately. In case of cell radius of 280 to 340 meters, it is around 1 Gbps approximately, and in case of a cell radius of 460 to 560 meters, it is around 500 Mbps approximately. In this example, the max downlink throughput for a specific cell radius is analyzed by varying the distance between the GNB and UE for a single N258 band at saturation rate. We now open the pre-saved example related to this network in NetSim. We go to the GNB properties where the propagation model and channel characteristics are configured. In this case, path loss alone is considered without any fading or shadowing. The outdoor scenario considered here is urban macro, and we now run the simulation. Upon completion of simulation, we see that for a cell radius of 20 meter, the maximum downlink throughput experienced by the UEs is around 6 Gbps approximately. Then at 180 meters, we see a throughput of 1 Gbps, and as we move further away to 320 meters, the peak throughput drops to about 300 Mbps. There are several factors that can affect the RSSI, received signal strength, measured at the receiver. In 5G NR, some of the important parameters include the GNB height, UE height, building height, and street width. Further, as part of propagation, there is outdoor propagation, indoor propagation, and outdoor to indoor penetration loss. Along with this, the modes of operation such as line of sight LOS and non-line of sight NLOS will also have an impact on RSSI. Path loss and shadow fading models described in 3GPP TR38.901 includes multiple scenarios on modeling different propagation environments, that is indoor, outdoor, urban and rural, for frequencies between 0.5 and 100 GHz. NetSim supports different mobility models for UE movement. Users can also provide file-based input for UE mobility for a more controlled movement. The figure shows the 2D and 3D distance between UE and GNB, considering the distance between the two and the heights of the UE and GNB. NetSim allows users to configure the UE and GNB height in UE and GNB's physical layer properties. We now consider the rural macro environment per 3GPP 38.900 channel models. The building height and street width can be configured in the propagation model settings, which are part of GNB's physical layer properties. In this example, we have considered an outdoor scenario with rural macro propagation environment where UE performs download over UDP. We have varied the building height for a line of sight condition and both the building height and street width for a non-line of sight condition, and have analyzed the impact this has on the path loss computed. In non-line of sight condition, there is an increase in path loss as building height and street width increases together. We see that the path loss increases more than double as building height and street width are varied from 10 meters to about 50 meters. In NetSim, an indoor scenario can be created by introducing a building. Buildings can be dropped in the grid environment and its size can also be set as required. UEs can be placed inside the building for modeling indoor scenario. Outdoor models calculate outdoor RF losses while indoor models calculate indoor RF losses. And we have O2I, outdoor to indoor penetration losses for RF as the RF signal passes through the building material. In the GNB properties, we can see the settings associated with outdoor scenario, indoor scenario, and O2I model. Losses are calculated for UEs placed outside the building based on outdoor propagation models such as rural macro, urban macro, and urban micro. As part of indoor scenario for UEs placed inside the building, indoor office model with mixed office and open office are used. In addition, outdoor to indoor penetration loss is computed for UEs inside the building. The standard defines different building materials and their respective losses. The first figure in the slide shows the calculations for the outdoor 3D distance and the indoor 3D distance. For example, in case of low loss model, materials such as multi-pane glass and concrete are considered, whereas for high loss model, materials such as IRR glass and concrete are considered for the O2I calculations. In this use case, we analyze the impact of distance on the throughput of a 5G scenario where the UE continuously moves away from the GNB. The movement of the UE from an initial distance of 1 meter from the GNB to about 2.5 kilometers from the GNB is modeled via a mobility input file. Mobility input is provided in such a way that the UE moves 100 meters every 4 seconds. As the UE moves away from the GNB, the application throughput starts reducing. The maximum throughput of 10 Mbps is obtained until 48 seconds, by which time the UE moves 1200 meters away from the GNB. Then the throughput drops to 9.5 Mbps at 48 seconds, and at time 56 seconds, when UE is 1400 meters away from the GNB, the throughput drops to about 6.5 Mbps. The throughput keeps dropping till the end of the simulation as the UE continuously moves further away from the GNB. In this use case, we have 50 UEs that are connected to a GNB, and all of them are placed equidistant from the GNB with a distance of 100 meters. And the UEs are sending data and downloading the data from the cloud. The cloud is just modeled as a single server, and this is a very high rate link. We have a total upload traffic of 300 Mbps or 6 Mbps per UE, and the download traffic of 50 Mbps or 1 Mbps per UE. All the UEs move to the right. Somewhere midway, the signal strength from GNB2 is higher than that from GNB1, and UEs will be handed over to GNB2. The handover is based on the event A3, which involves the strongest adjacent cell algorithm. And this involves control packets such as UE measurement report, handover request ACK, handover command, and path switch. In the throughput versus time plot, we see better throughput initially. However, the throughput starts falling as the UE gets further and further away from the GNB. And again, it increases once the handover is complete. In the packet latency plot, initially the delay is in the order of just a few milliseconds. Then it shoots up during the handover and again drops once the UE associates with the second GNB. We will now open a saved scenario in NetSim. You can see here 50 UEs are initially connected to GNB1, and mobility has been set such that they move towards the right to GNB2. Since it would take a long time to simulate, we directly open the results window. We see the application metrics of each UE. This includes the number of packets generated, received, the end-to-end throughput, latency, and jitter. We also see the throughput variation over time. I now hand over to my colleague Pranav.
This is the last example that we will be showing. In this case, we have one GNB connected to 25 phones, 6 sensors, and 3 cameras. We have a combination of TCP and UDP flows. The core network at the backhaul is a 10 Gbps link. Bandwidth is set to 100 MHz with LOS conditions and with round-robin MAC scheduling. The camera transmits video. The video is 5 Mbps to simulate a 720 pixel HD video and the sensors transmit a payload of 500 bytes every 2.5 milliseconds, which translates to a rate of 1.6 Mbps. The UEs are downloading a 25 MB file while simultaneously uploading a 15 MB file. We study the impact of numerology on delay. As you can see, the throughput is almost the same, and we clearly see how latency reduces as numerology is increased. With NetSim emulator, users can transmit real data over a virtual 5G network. The network that is designed in NetSim for this example has a server connected to a GNB with 4 UEs. The emulation server physical system connects via the Ethernet port to two real systems. Users can start with a ping and study the round trip time for ping, then change 5G parameters and see its impact on the round trip time. Then users can use a tool like iPerf to study throughput KPIs. Users can also send videos, files, etc. The data travels physically to the emulation server, and then inside NetSim it flows through this entire virtual network, experiencing all the network effects such as delay, loss, and error. Then again physically, the data travels to the destination. With this, we have come to the end of this webinar. Thanks again from our end. We'll now be closing the session.